Hey YouTube, it's Ryan from Movies with Ryan, and we're back with another video. And what we're going to talk about today is one of my favorite things, and that's Asian cinema. Now, whether it be martial arts, action movies, or thrillers, I enjoy it all. And I've picked out 12 titles from my collection that I think you guys should watch if you've never delved into Asian cinema. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and let's go. All right, starting this off, probably the easiest thing to get into. The actor in this was very Americanized, and it's something hopefully everybody should have seen at some point. But if you haven't, a good jumping off point is Bruce Lee, Enter the Dragon. Now, the reason I picked this is because there's no subtitles, or there's very few subtitles. There's a lot of great action, and Bruce Lee really gets to show off his martial arts skills and his weapon handling skills. But for my first pick for Asian cinema, I believe that you should watch is Enter the Dragon. Moving right along, my next pick for Asian cinema I think you should watch is 1977's House, or Hasu. Now, I recently watched this about a month and a half ago for the first time after several people had recommended this, and they said it was a weird, crazy movie, and they were not wrong. So it's basically a story about a girl that thinks she's going to go stay with her father for the summer after school ends. Turns out she's going to end up staying with her aunt. So her and a couple of her friends go there, and the house is haunted, and all sorts of crazy stuff ensues after that. There's ghosts, there's a beheading in a well, crazy stuff. And the aunt's not quite right either. But I highly recommend, if you want to watch a crazy movie, House. My next pick comes from a legendary director, Akira Kurosawa. Now, there isn't a movie in his catalog I could not pick on here and be wrong with. But this is a movie I watched recently, and I thought it was a very good story. And it doesn't have katana swords in it. That is 1952's Ikiru. So this is basically about a gentleman. He's a civil servant that has worked in his office for 30 years. And he's never lived life. Come to find out, he's got stomach cancer and he's going to pass away. And he decides to just up and leave work. And he goes and lives his life. This story is beautifully written, beautifully acted. And I highly suggest this movie. Ikiru from Akira Kurosawa. My next pick is going to get a little dark. Now, if anybody has been watching any kind of TV lately and you've watched the Squid Game, you know how successful it was. Very good show. Now, that show is based on a movie. I shouldn't say it's based on a movie, but it derives this material from a movie, and that is going to be my next pick. Now, this is not going to be for everybody because this is a little bit more hardcore. But that's going to be Battle Royale. Now, the basis of this is basically the Japanese government picks 42 kids, ninth graders, puts them on an island for 3 days, and makes them kill each other one by one until there's only one standing under the Battle Royale Act. This is brutal. It's graphic and it's unforgiving, but it is a great watch. Plenty of action. And if you like the Squid Game, I highly suggest Battle Royale. Also, I believe the Hunger Games was also based around the same concept as this. But my next pick for Asian cinema I think you should watch is the classic 2000 movie Battle Royale. Moving on to my fifth pick is a movie that stars two great actors, Sammo Hung and Donnie Yen. Now, both these people have a very large catalog of movies I could have picked from, but this one stars them both, and this movie is action-packed. And it is a movie, 2005's Killzone. Now, the reason I recommend this is because the acting's good in it and the action is fantastic. Basically, crime boss sends his henchmen in to clean up some cops that are trying to get rid of them, and Donnie Yen is there to stop them. And this features one of the probably the most dynamic fights I've ever seen. Donnie Yen and another guy go at it hand to hand. He's got a baton, the other guy has a knife, and it is a tremendously great fight. But another pick I think you should watch, Killzone. My next pick is probably what started me on my Asian cinematic journey. It's from 1992, directed by John Woo, which has done Asian and American movies, and stars Chow Yun-fat. And Chow Yun-fat, there is a multitude of movies I could have picked. Anywhere from Better Tomorrow trilogy, City on Fire, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. But this one is Hard Boiled. If you've never heard of this, you need to look it up. He is a cop on a mission to kill people, and he kills a lot of people. And at one point, I believe this had the longest shootout in a movie. Him and another guy basically go floor to floor, room to room in a hospital, clearing house of mobsters. And I want to say, this is probably one of the most hardcore action movies you will get out of Asian cinema. Again, that's Hard Boiled, starring Chow Yun-fat. Moving right along, our next pick is out of Korea, and this is a movie everybody should watch. I know it's been getting a lot of talk here in the last about year or two, and it's 2010's I Saw the Devil. Now, if you've not seen this, be a little prepared because it's a little hardcore. But it's directed by Kim Joo-woon, and he's done a couple other things. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it stars Lee Byung-ho. And basically, he's been Billy in the Magnificent Seven, he's Storm Shadow, and he's the frontman in the Squid Game, among a bunch of other movies. But he is a secret agent. His fiance gets killed, and it's this serial killer that has been killing a multitude of people through the movie. And he goes to extreme lengths to find him, almost turning into a monster himself. But if you've not seen I Saw the Devil, highly recommend it. Just be forewarned, it is a little brutal. Pick number 8 is a movie that recently came out in 2019, and it's by Bong Joon-ho. Now, this is an easy pick because I think most of America should know this movie by now. Now, I could also go with Snowpiercer, or Memoirs of a Murder, or Dog Bites Dog. But I'm going to go with Parasite. Parasite's an easy movie to get into, but you're going to either love it or you're going to hate it. So basically, it's a family that are parasites that live off another family. And that's all I'm going to leave it at, because this movie gets real weird real quick, and the twist in it is kind of different. But for Bong Joon-ho, which is a great director, I highly recommend checking him out. And for my pick of something of Asian cinema I think you can ease into, that's going to be Parasite. All right, moving on to my next pick. This is a 2002 movie starring Jet Li. And Jet Li is probably by far my favorite martial artist of all time. Very close with Jackie Chan. And there's a lot of movies of his I could pick. But I only picked one because I think everybody should see this movie. Not just because it's an Asian cinematic masterpiece, but because it's just a masterpiece, I believe, period. And it is a very colorful movie, a very action-packed movie, and it's very dense with dialogue. And that is, again, 2002's Hero. Of course, you see at the top there, Quentin Tarantino presents. He did have a little bit of a hand in this as far as bringing it to America, but Hero is basically, he is a security officer in a kingdom. He's brought forth to tell the king about his stories of defeating 3 warriors, and it's told in flashbacks, and the flashbacks each are done in a different color, and it is beautiful and breathtaking. I would say it's probably one of the best colorful cinematic movies I've ever watched. But my pick that I think you should watch in Asian cinematic movies is Hero, but from Jet Li. 3 more suggestions left, and this one's a doozy. So there was an American remake, and I highly suggest you don't watch it because it is crap. But this is Park Chan-wook's Old Boy specifically, but this is the Vengeance Trilogy Arrow box set, which also has Lady Vengeance and Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, which are equally as good, equally as brutal movies. But my choice, again, Old Boy. Now, if you've never seen Old Boy, it's gritty, it's got a good twist in it that you don't see coming, and the action in it is pretty good. But basically, the main character plays, I believe it is Dae-soo. He's kind of a stumbling drunk, and he gets abducted and basically lives in a hotel room void of any contact of people for 15 years. They feed him, there's a TV, he sleeps when they tell him to, and then one day he's mysteriously released, and he goes on a spree finding out who kidnapped him, because he's missed a lot. He runs into a woman that helps him along, and the fight scene. If anybody knows this movie, there's a hallway fight. He puts good use to that hammer. This is an excellent movie. One thing I will say about most Asian cinematic movies, or just Asian movies in general, that differ from American, they're blunt. They don't really work on the happy endings. Not everything is always cheerful. And when it comes to the ending of some of these movies, you're like, holy crap, that is just dark. And that's how they like it, and that's how I like my movies from them. But my pick, Old Boy. You need to check it out if you haven't. But like I said, there's been a remake. Don't watch it. It's garbage. We're down to the last two. And this next one was very hard for me because I really honestly think that this next person is my favorite martial artist of all time. And he's got a lengthy record of movies. And almost all of them are great. I don't think I've ever seen a bad movie. But that's Jackie Chan. But what I picked was The Drunken Master and Legend of the Drunken Master. Now, the reason I picked these is because I think it really displays his martial arts style the most, because he uses several different techniques in these, especially drunken boxing. And I think his comedic presence or timing and acting in these is fantastic. And these have some of the best fight scenes I've ever seen out of Jackie Chan. But again, my pick for some Asian movies I think you should watch: Drunken Master and Legend of the Drunken Master. We are down to the last one. And this last one is a no-brainer for me. My favorite director out of Japan right now, or even the Asian market, is Takashi Miike. The man's been around for a while. He's directed over 100 movies, and he's got some bangers. My favorite movie from him is a samurai movie, which I don't think I've done a samurai movie yet. I could have with Akira Kurosawa, but I didn't. 13 Assassins. This movie is probably peak goodness Takashi Miike. It's basically about 13 rogue samurai that come together to help a village defeat an evil lord. And once things get going in this, it is non-stop action. There's just fights, swords, arrows, fire, troops all over the place getting slaughtered. But the 13 Assassins do some work. Now, Takashi Miike is a very divisive director because he can go from samurais to Audition, which is body horror, to just some weird stuff like The Happiness of the Qataris. This is a very good jumping off point for a samurai movie, I believe, in Asian cinema, and especially a good jumping off point for Takashi Miike. But 13 Assassins, my favorite movie from him, and probably one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time. Highly recommend. All right, folks, that's going to do it. That is my picks for Asian cinema. Now, these are movies I think are a good jumping off point to get into the Asian movie market. And if you agree with me, please let me know. Or if there's other suggestions you think that I should watch or I would enjoy, please comment below. Again, I'm Ryan from Movies with Ryan, and if you haven't done it already, please subscribe, and if you like this video, please hit that like button. And until I see you again, have a good night.